Thanks for staying with us. We're still reviewing the papers. Punch. Yeah.
Members of the Middle Belt Forum will today, Wednesday, in Abuja protest the rising cases of kidnapping in the region and insecurity that has ravaged parts of the country. This is also coming against the backdrop of the arrest of 10 suspected bandits by the military. And the president of the forum, Brent Kane, was the one who said the protesters will march peacefully to the Attorney General of the Federation's office to demand the declaration of the kidnappers and bandits as terrorists and an end to the killings and abductions across the country. And, they said the recent abduction that happened had about 19 abductees that were taken away by bandits from the Sagwari estate layout in Dusen Alhaji area in Wari Area Council of Abuja. And they said last Thursday the abductees have spent 7 days in the custody of their captors already, and the kidnappers are demanding 700 million naira ransom for 9 of the victims. We already know that some of the victims have been killed, and I would like to mention the name. They had killed 4 of the hostages, including Nabiha Al-Kadriya, a 400-level student of biology science, Ahmadu Bello University Zaria, and 13-year-old Folashade Ariyo. And they also explained how the abduction had happened. We already know the story. But they said the primary objective of this peace walk, organized by Africa's Morning Center for Public Policy and Good Governance and Middle Belt Youth Forum, is to compel the federal government through the Attorney General of the Federation to invoke sections 3, 48, and 49 of Nigeria's Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act of 2022 so that they can declare these wanton killings and destruction an act of terrorism, saying that there's no way this is not terrorism. It beats all the things that are in the Constitution, and it's so organized, so structured that it must be prescribed as terrorism. And so they are asking the Attorney General of the Federation to do the needful, and that's one of the reasons they are going to be...
I reached out to a relative in Abuja who lives in that area, very close to the area, and just out of fear of what might be, and he says that it's less policing that they're suffering for. The state is being... Maybe Wike doesn't understand that the FCT is a state that needs its own internal organization. So, for instance, Lagos State had neighborhood watch. In some states, you have some Amotekun. You will drive to some areas of Abuja, and it will be dark and lonely. Somewhere, imagine that within Asokoro, you have some lonely roads that if you get there, you will not see any sight but Okadas. You should not be... Everywhere should be manned. It's the FCT, for God's sake.
We have to move on to another story. Let me take the chairman of the Presidential Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms Committee, Mr. Taiwo Oyedele, has said that we should be saving about 8 trillion naira annually, taken from the private sector to government as a result of the removal of the fuel subsidy. He was speaking yesterday at LCC, that's the Lagos Chamber of Commerce Industry, at an event yesterday. He said it's very critical for government to spend the monies saved properly so that Nigerians can actually see the results of the removal of the subsidy. So the sacrifices Nigerians have made, they've made quite a bit of sacrifices, and this 8 trillion naira that they're about to save, that they're saving per year, should be judiciously utilized. Furthermore, he said that Nigeria has the capacity to make about $20 billion from technology, from the tech sector, and we all need to harness and see what we can do to create digital opportunities for young people and just drive capacity in technology area. So see how that works. Moving on quickly now to Daily Sun. Nigeria's stolen assets, UK court orders return of 8.2 billion naira. Disgruntled politicians using IPOB against Deputy Speaker, says group. Why the Sun Awards winner emerged. Concerns mount over sale of $2.4 billion Shell onshore gas assets. Residents panic as Expl0sion rocks Ibadan. And anxiety as Supreme Court reserves judgment on the Nasarawa and Kebbi Guba disputes. Okay?
So global oil giant Shell, operating in Nigeria's SPDC, yesterday announced the sale of its $1.2 billion onshore oil fields and gas assets to Renaissance, a consortium of 5 companies. So these 5 Nigerian companies have footprints in oil exploration and production. That's ND Western, Aradel Energy, First ENP, Walter Smith, and Petrolin. So they said the deal had been in a pipeline for some years now. but it's also subject to approval by the federal government. And then there are also other conditions to be met before this goes ahead. But if this is approved by the federal government, they say this transaction would fulfill Shell's long-term goal of removing itself from a challenging operating environment in the Niger Delta region, while its flag remains hoisted in the offshore and deep offshore. The paper said that they had, they were in conversation with Professor Adeyi Avenue. He is a former director, Center for Petroleum, Energy and Economics and Law. So he gave his own, his thoughts about this. He said that this development sends a wrong signal to the international community and potential investors. The federal government has perennially failed to address the twin monster of oil theft and pipe vandalism. It says Shell has constantly lamented, that crude oil theft was a serious threat to Nigeria. And we've also heard Tony and Lumelu talk about this as well. For those of them in this business, they say one of the biggest threats to that business is the oil theft that keeps happening. And so for them, it seems, we're telling the international market that this is a hostile environment to do this sort of business. So it's like a warning to the federal government to get its act together in that area of vandalism and oil theft.
I have the return money. So following the forfeiture order by a court in the United Kingdom, the sum of, the way some carry more, Sonia said 6.9 euros, 6.9 million euros or $8.9 million or 8.2 billion naira when converted to naira might be on its way back to us. So they said this money was suspected to have been stolen funds earmarked for armed purchase in the Jonathan administration, and the court has ruled a forfeiture and refund to us. So yeah.
Okay. One is coming small. So a group, Peace in Southeast Project, said disgruntled politicians in the Southeast geopolitical zone are using IPOB to malign the Deputy Speaker, that's Benjamin Kalu. They had said that their work cannot be complete without advocacy for the release of Nnamdi Kanu, that's the IPOB leader. IPOB, in a statement by its media, publicly said they are more powerful, had accused the Deputy Speaker, Benjamin Kalu, against the release of Nnamdi Kanu. And saying that this PISEP group has been created just to douse the love of Indigo towards Nnamdi Kanu. Nevertheless, the PISEP, that's this new group, Peace in Southeast Group, noted that while the governors and the traditional rulers are fighting to reduce violence, they are seeking relevance by using IPOB. They're used by using IPOB, and they're seeking peace, but they want to push them to be killed like flies. So, just drama going on in that state right now. Okay, moving on quickly now to Vanguard. This fine story we've not taken. NNPC should have privatized refineries before rehabilitation, says Atiku. 83 illegal refineries uncovered in 1 week. I prepared myself for probe, says Buhari. Tinubu wicked rise against insecurity, vow renewed action. And palliatives funds, there's plot to link Bajase source. Okay, which story?
Okay, so NNPC says in the past weeks that they uncovered 83 illegal refineries in the Niger Delta. They also uncovered 15 illegal pipeline connections and over 211 incidents of oil theft and vandalism were reported. 7 of cases of vandalism were also recorded in certain areas. So in Rivers they had 7, in Oyo they had others. And I'm hoping I'm not taking someone's story.
You have
You
taken
have
someone's
taken story. You have taken my
I read
story.
the papers first.
So, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar said yesterday that Nigerian National Petroleum Company, NNPC Limited, should have privatized refineries before rehabilitation to avoid debt. He said that I think NNPC had said that they had concluded plans over the government-owned refineries to handing it over to private operators. And so he made a post on X saying that the company must explain to the satisfaction of Nigerians the benefits of his newly discovered approach to privatization. He wrote, and I quote, "I've always advocated for far-reaching reforms to reposition Nigeria's oil sector and indeed other sectors of our economy. In particular, I had consistently called on Buhari administration to break his monopoly in all infrastructure sectors, including the refineries, and give investors, both foreign and domestic, a larger role in funding and management. My position has been well laid out. He talked about his plan 2018 and my covenant with Nigeria 2022. But our suggestions fell on deaf ears. They refused to privatize the refineries. They left them idle for years while paying humongous staff salaries to people. And then they contracted a loan of 1.5 billion for rehabilitation. Now the current administration wants to turn the rehabilitated refinery to private operations and maintenance. And they need to come out and explain to us exactly how they arrived at this and to what benefit will it be to Nigerians.
So our president yesterday, during the book launch, the book Working with Buhari, Reflections of a Special Advisor, Media and Publicity 2015 to 2023, authored by Femi Adesina, yesterday was launched. And there our president said that his administration kept records of all their stewardship, knowing that one day they will be required to account for the trust that was entrusted in them. Buhari stated this during the book launch, and also while he noted the efforts of the author, Femi Adesina, and says without documentation and revision, human beings often have short memories, and unless events are recorded in cold print, some people could come and attempt to either distort or even obliterate recent history. But the fact in our favor is that they were able to ensure nothing was done in veil of secrecy. We were as transparent and accountable as possible, being aware of the fact that posterity will be their judge. So quite a lot of things happened at that event yesterday. Even our current president said that the Buhari never called him once to solicit for support in appointment for anybody to be in the office or to make recommendations for appointment. That he has been in Daura minding his business, and he appreciates that. The former vice president, Professor Yomi Osinbajo, also made a few comments, talking about how much of I don't want to say jester, jocular man is our president. That he was rather funny.
They say he has a great sense
of humor. That he's the kind of person that he said that he cracks a lot of jokes, and he laughs at himself a lot. And a lot of things. There was
I think we have that in common. I have a great sense of humor as well.
You do?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Very much. Of course,
just
your understanding of my humor is another problem.
Anyways, so it was very interesting. But it's just to get all the feedback from the book launch was quite interesting because everybody had something to say.
But the book,
yes. So the second story is in Tribune, but because it's about the book, should I just take it?
Please.
So this also has to do with the our former president and his take on Emefiele, and why he did not take him out when he was running for office. And he said that Emefiele did not approach him to tell him that he was running, that the way we found out, that's how he found out as well. And then he said that he maintained that concerning the redesign policy that was implemented by Emefiele, the president maintains that those who had a problem with the policy were individuals who had too much money. He said that what happened called for a cleaner election exercise. He says democracy also allows people to express their will, and we do not attempt to control them. People understand the implications of their choices and would not force them. Then they said when he came in, why didn't he just take Emefiele out? He says, yes, there were talks, but he didn't have any evidence. Yes. He's not the sort of person to just take out someone like that, punish someone without reason. He says, because nobody stays in an office forever, and the way he's fair to that person, he hopes that too, the next person will be fair to him as well. All
right, we have to wrap up, but he added that the issue of the cabal is a bloody nonsense. The concept of a cabal in his cabinet is that's bloody nonsense. Okay, that is all we can take on Front Page Review today. When we come back, we'll move on to the hot topic of the day. We're starting with the explosion that happened in Ibadan. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.